Start. Okay, hey Tessa and Robert.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, welcome to our very first episode of Life After the Fight. Y'all are the very first guests in this. How do you feel?
We're excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be asking you 1,000 questions that I've already asked you before, but we're gonna do that again.
That
So
was a good dress rehearsal for real life.
there you go. But anyway, quick little backstory on Tessa and Robert. I met them through various aplastic anemia groups. They host a Wednesday night Zoom call with other aplastic anemia fighters, survivors, all in between. And they have become very close friends of mine. And how long have we known each other now? 2 years?
I think it's longer than
Yeah, it
that,
seems like
Mark.
it's been one, too.
Time just flies by,
Yeah. We started it 5 years ago, the Zoom call. So I don't know. When was your transplant?
My transplant was January 2023. So would have been,
So
I guess, 3 years
it was
then.
before
Yeah,
that.
it
Yeah,
was definitely
it was
before
well
your
before that
transplant.
because you were in limbo there for quite a while before the
Yeah,
transplant. So,
that was a lot of fun.
Oh,
And yeah, and Tessa and Robert too. We've only been in one really bad fight, me being a Gator fan and them being Tennessee Volunteers. I only had a few clashes with that.
he's won this year, but New Year's coming.
Hey, you got baseball last year, so
That's right.
we're both doing well. But anyway, we can get started. Um, so tell me about y'all's story with aplastic anemia. When were you diagnosed, Robert? How did you know you were diagnosed? Let's get started.
Um, so in 2008, I guess we believe that it started because nobody really knows how they got aplastic anemia or why they got it. But in February of 2008, I had a virus that came home sick from work on Valentine's Day, and it was a really bad virus. And of course, you got over it, but then after that, I just never got feeling good again, and started getting bruises, started getting headaches, nosebleeds, more bruises. So I had had a friend years before that had leukemia and passed away from leukemia, and he had all those same symptoms. So I assumed that that's what I had from the way I was feeling. So we weren't talking about it. I was hiding the bruises. I was trying to get work done that needed to be done at the house and at my job because I knew if I went to the doctor, it was going to be inpatient for a while. So it finally, the headaches finally got too bad, and I went into it to see the doctor, and he took some blood work, and he said this was on a Thursday, I think, and he called me or he said, I'll call you in the first of the week and let you know. And he called about an hour later, and he said, hey, we need you to go over to the cancer center, and you need to drive very carefully because you don't have any platelets, and we have an appointment set up for you over there. And of course, in my mind, it was just confirming what my suspicions were. But so I went over there, middle of the day from work, and called my wife on the way over there. I hadn't even told her I went to the doctor, and so um, went in, and I was there. I don't know, 5 minutes, and he wanted to do a bone marrow biopsy. So had my first bone marrow biopsy right there in the doctor's office on the table, and it didn't hurt at all, which was kind of weird because you were supposed to hurt, and they warned me it would, but I don't know if I didn't have any bone marrow or I didn't have any or had enough shock, I guess. But so, and that was, I didn't pick the doctor. That was one that my physician had made an appointment with, and he got me in there, and it looks like leukemia. We're going to do, look at this bone marrow really good. And then he comes in and says, um, it's not leukemia, it's aplastic anemia. And he was just
that was several days ago that you got your diagnosis, though.
that was yeah,
You were at the hospital when you got your diagnosis. Yeah.
I was at the hospital because they put me in the hospital that day.
I was gonna say I had to wait for my biopsy results. Sounded like you got yours in like 20 minutes.
It was probably
It
a
was a
day
few
or two
days.
later.
Yeah.
They They put him in the hospital.
Yeah.
Isn't that limbo like phenomenal too? Don't you love it where you're just
Yeah.
waiting to see what's going on?
I know. We just thought we knew what it was, but so we weren't. We did. I don't guess we were that big a limbo because we really thought it was leukemia from all my symptoms, but yeah, just and I guess we probably didn't. We weren't in the best place, and that's kind of something that we like to let people know. You need to pay attention to your surroundings and make sure that if things don't look right, and we'll talk about that more in a minute, but if things don't look right, say something in your medical care. But so the guy comes in and he brings us a piece of paper to hand to us to talk about aplastic anemia, and he had printed it off of Google, um, which was
That's
probably
reassuring.
that was probably yeah. And he was really excited about treating it and he admitted this is the first time I'm going to get to treat this.
He almost seemed happy.
He was excited. He was almost giddy about it. And I had nothing. He hadn't even gotten a transfusion yet, and I was sitting there with nothing. And so he said, tomorrow we're going to start ATG, horse ATG, and that's the treatment that we've got. And so we had friends come in pretty soon after that, and one of them happened to work at UT, University of Tennessee Medical Center in the cancer center, and she worked for a hematologist oncologist, and she said, "We need to get you out of here really fast because this is not the right place for you." And she called.
And where was this that you were?
This was at our small local hospital here in
Okay,
County,
understood.
but we're about 30 minutes from Knoxville, Tennessee, and so she worked with a hematologist that happens to be probably the best hematologist for aplastic anemia in East Tennessee, if not wider than that. So it was.
I think people drive for hours to get.
Yeah, they do. We know people that have drive 1 to 2 hours just to see him. So with aplastic anemia and with cancer, but so they I told the guy I wasn't doing the ATG today. We're going to go to UT Hospital and sign up with Dr. Hannah. And Dr. Hannah just
Dr. Wahid Hannah is his name.
He's awesome. And he said, we're just going to slow all this down. We're going to get you built up. He put me on cyclosporine and steroids and started getting me lots of transfusions. And he spent 30 days building me back up, getting me stable and feeling better before he did the horse ATG.
So whenever you were feeling your symptoms, you said that was in February that you had the virus. How much time elapsed between that and then whenever you went to your local hospital and then whenever you went to Dr. Hannah, right?
I was diagnosed on May 3rd of 2008.
Okay, so
on her birthday.
Oh, wow. That's a wonderful birthday present, isn't
it? It's awesome. Yeah. So we were there. I think we were at that hospital a total of 3 days, maybe. And then we immediately went to UT Hospital. And then everything just got really chill at that point. It was really tense and messy at the first hospital.
So at UT, though, you said that he was building you up for about a month before you actually got the horse ATG. What does that mean? What did he do exactly?
And we weren't inpatient that whole time. He got me some transfusions and got me stabilized because I didn't have any blood or, everything was bottled out to nothing.
Really bad.
So he just didn't want to send me home even without some blood. But I just think he was, because we've seen people, you and I, that react to cyclosporine without ATG. So I think he was just going to kind of see what my bone marrow would do, what my blood counts would do with that. And also I was just really weak and, he wanted to check me out because I'd been having headaches, really bad headaches for weeks. And he just wanted to make sure that nothing else had happened during this period, which it hadn't.
Can I just say, I do remember him saying he was hoping that Robert's body it could recover on its own, like it happens occasionally. He said, it's not often. but we have to give it a chance before
Okay.
you go jumping into treatment. And so we felt like that was a very wise decision, especially since he had gone, he was almost half dead. I mean, he was bad sick. And he just went too long without going to the doctor. I don't recommend that. And so
Yeah,
it took a
absolutely.
while for him to build his strength back up. And so we're convinced that if that doctor had started him on ATG, horse ATG that next day, and he hadn't even had his blood transfusions yet, that it would have killed him. I mean, I don't think he would have survived it.
So tell me if I'm understanding this correctly. You were on cyclosporin before you went into ATG.
Yes.
Okay.
And
And how long were you on the steroids and the cyclosporin until you
Month.
got it for a month?
Month.
Okay. Wow. So let's compact this a little more. So what exactly was your treatment plan then? You said just now, cyclosporin and steroids, and then you went into horse ATG. Did you go on Promacta or any other medications as
That
well?
was pre-Promacta.
there was no Promacta.
Pre-Promacta.
Yeah.
I think Promacta came out, started getting clinical trials and sometimes around 2010. And maybe in 11 is when it actually showed up on the market, but was still very fresh. So no, I never took Promacta.
You
Gotcha.
did some Neupogen, I think.
Yeah, but that didn't do any
But
good.
yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so whenever you went into ATG, you were inpatient, right?
I was.
And how long were you in there? How did you tolerate it? What was your experience like getting ATG?
I think they prepped us for 21 days. He said you need to expect 3 weeks in the hospital, inpatient. And they said just bring your, make it your own, make it your room. I didn't wear any hospital gowns. I wore shorts and t-shirt, and we brought a lamp and a chair, and
We
we
did the
moved.
same thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, they told us we could, so why
Yeah.
not? And we didn't have to stay that long. I think we stayed maybe 15 or 16 days, something like that. But it went really well. There's some odd side effects, unfortunately, to not only ATG, but also just to having no counts. The mouth sores were pretty bad. We've learned a lot of stuff from our group of how to avoid that. But
At the time, all we had was Dr. Hannah's magic mouthwash.
yeah,
You didn't have the Zoom Wednesday calls like you
No,
have
we
now.
I
That would
didn't
have been
have
really
any of
helpful,
that.
right?
That would have been very
This was
helpful.
pre-Facebook.
Yeah.
Yes.
This
there
was back in the Stone Ages.
We were literally, I mean, like we knew no one with aplastic anemia. We knew we'd never heard of it. We were just out on our own, and we were that way for years.
Yeah.
Whenever you heard that you were diagnosed with aplastic anemia, did you have a sense of relief that it wasn't leukemia? Because I definitely did. I thought I was like, oh, low iron. And then they're like, no, it's actually not cool at all.
Yeah, we did
very
have a sense of
serious.
relief, except that doctor said, well, the good news is it's
Not
not
leukemia.
leukemia, but the bad news is it's not much better.
Yeah, that's what he
So that was his
So
exact
you
quote.
were up high, then he brought you back down real
He did,
fast.
he did. And
Gotcha.
then we had no clue what it was, so he gives us a Google printout, and Google is the worst place to go for rare diseases.
Yes, it is.
Don't go there.
Yeah,
If you're watching this video, don't go
Dr. Google doesn't have his medical license. Don't listen
he
to
should be
him.
revoked
Not
from
updated.
the internet, really. But there's a lot of really old information on there, and it looked, Google said I was dead, and I've been dead for years, in fact, according to Google. But I'm not dead.
Can I take
Yeah.
some? Because, I was there with him the whole time. I stayed while he was getting that ATG day and night. And so when they first gave it to me, you wanted to know how his body reacted to it. Is that what you wanted to know?
Yeah, of course. I want to know everything.
Yeah. So they started it within, I don't know, maybe a few hours. He wanted a big breakfast. I kind of was hoping he wouldn't. I tried to talk him out of it, but he was like, "Oh, it's okay. I can eat this." And he had a huge breakfast. And then about an hour to 2 hours after the first treat, they started the ATG, the horse ATG. He got sick just one time, but it was because he ate a lot of food. That was obvious. But he got a fever. It wasn't extreme, but he felt pretty bad for a few hours. It was really odd. It was just a few hours, and then he started feeling better, kind of coming out of it, and he did pretty good. And then the second, the rest of 3 days, he really wasn't that sick. The only issue he had was just some swelling, I guess, just fluid that was going in some places you don't want it to go. So, and then,
The mouth sores, but
the mouth sores,
but I had the
yeah.
mouth sores for a month or so before because they started getting me before
They're the
I,
worst.
they were.
Those are terrible.
He
Oh,
had gotten where he couldn't even
yeah, I was in
talk
the hospital.
before he ever went to the
Yeah,
doctor. So that,
it was so bad. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
So
that's not
there's
fun at
ways
all.
to avoid that and
absolutely.
yeah.
But yeah, I
So
mean, overall, he did well. I felt like, and then he did after, we were warned that he could get serum sickness. He seemed to, be recovering very well. I mean, we just hung out at the hospital. We watched movies. He worked some from the hospital because we just kind of had to hang out there until his counts got high enough to where they didn't, they felt safe for us to come out into real life.
To go to home.
right,
We were
right.
in isolation. We were allowed to leave the room for a good long time and all that. But yeah, I
It
don't know
was
what
right
else
after
to
I got
say.
home that I had serum sickness.
Yeah, 2 weeks. It was
Oh,
on
interesting.
Yeah.
to the day that he started. He had like one night he started getting a fever, because the doctor had said, you call me if he gets a fever or anything like that. And so he started getting a little bit of a temperature, and then he just had really, really bad body aches where he couldn't stand the sheets to touch him.
The skin ached and a big rash.
Yeah, and then the rash. Yeah. And so that lasted about 3 days, I think. The rash lasted a lot
Yeah,
longer.
the rash lasted a long time, but the
But
really hard
yeah.
skin sensitivity and body pain was about
What'd
I,
you do to help alleviate the body aches?
I don't even remember.
I mean, I
Just
called
power
like
through it. Suck it up.
it was really awesome. The doctor himself, I had a cell number and I called him in the middle of the night because it hit in the middle of the night with a fever. And so I think he just told us to give him like over the counter meds. And I think he did call us in some
Like
stronger
hydrocodone or
drugs.
something.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't know if we used it or
I
not.
don't like hydrocodone. It makes my stomach upset, so I don't normally take it. So,
But it was
but
just
that's what they gave us. But I just waited it out. You
yeah,
just had to
just
wait.
time.
Yeah, I just laid in bed and tried to sleep and waited out. And which sleeping isn't great with steroids. I don't know if you got that in your regimen, but I had
What do
really
you
high.
mean sleep?
Yeah.
Steroids and sleep, that doesn't work at all together.
He would take
No.
Benadryl at night, and that
Yeah.
would help counteract it a little bit. And I mean, there were some other drugs that he took. Like he was on antivirals after the treatment for a good little
Lots of
while.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was like quite a few weeks that you were
Yeah.
on that. And then he eventually, cyclosporin gives you side effects, and one of those is just shaking, just really bad shaking. And so his shaking got to the point at one time that where we ended up having to get a little. They gave him just a really tiny dose of Xanax from the steroids with the mixture of the cyclosporin and the steroids. He was just very intense,
Yeah.
very intense.
The Xanax was more for her.
Because he was on like 60 milligrams of steroids a day
And
Yeah.
like,
for months. And so,
Prednisone steroids, that like were
yes.
you eating like crazy? Because that's what I remember. I gained like
I
15
did.
pounds. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
It
a
was,
little chubby boy.
At one point, he actually had to go off sugar because he was
yeah, it pushed up my,
becoming.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's just a side effect of steroids,
So
but
You eat
we,
like a king, but you sleep terribly. I
I
mean,
know.
that what I remember. I mean, you just brought back a memory for me when I got ATG that they gave me the Benadryl, the IV Benadryl, which is great and terrible at the same time.
Love
But
it.
then they gave me steroids right after, so my body like didn't know what to do. So I remember my eyes were closed, but like they were like wide awake at the same time. My body didn't know what to
You
do.
could
So
see that your eyes were closed.
yeah, it was a very strange feeling, but yeah,
Yeah,
I know with the
I,
steroids, it's rough. Very.
I remember saying to the doctor, and this was months and months and months after he had been on this high dose. Okay. Like I hung in there for a long time. And I finally was like, because he just wouldn't give in to take just a little something to take the edge off. And I was like, if you don't get some Xanax, I'm gonna have to get some, because tense. And I'm not saying he handled it so well, and it was so, like I respected him for being able to handle all those drugs. They're not easy drugs to be on. But when he took it, he was super glad he had.
Oh
Were
yeah.
you not?
Yeah,
It
because
made him
I
feel
mean,
so
'cause I
much
was
better.
work. I was back at work. From the time I was diagnosed until I went back to work was 2 months almost to the day. And, so trying to ride and
So your counts went up pretty quick though after
they did.
ATG and cyclosporin.
Now, my neutrophils went up so that I was safe
Okay.
enough to be in an environment that was controlled. I work in an office. I'm an insurance agent, so my secretaries would um, vet customers. If they look sick, they're not coming to see me.
They
And
were coughing, they would send them to somebody else. They were
one time,
very
I just wasn't seeing customers, but I could work in the office and I could talk on the phone and stuff. But um, so yeah. But I was still getting transfusions even after I went to work.
Did you have any counts that were stubborn and not going up as quick as other ones? I feel like everybody has one in particular that's just doesn't work.
Platelets were always my challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
By always, you mean today too?
no, my platelets
Okay.
are,
But it's taken years and years to
yeah.
get where
Yeah.
you're
And
at right now.
actually, I went to Dr. Hannah's last Friday, and I had him do a lot of extra blood work that he's not, because I wanted to know what my cholesterol was and all the other things that I could, because he was taking blood anyway, so why not? And so it got me looking at my blood counts and trying to see, because I knew we were going to talk to you tonight, and to kind of see how long it took, because that's one of the biggest questions people have is how long is my life on hold, or how long does it take, and all that. Now, obviously, life didn't go completely on hold for me because after 2 months, I was back at work. I was being careful, but um, the first time after being treated with ATG in June of '08, the first time I had normal platelet counts was in August of 2010. So it took a little over 2 years before my platelets got normal.
Wow. So what did you do in between then, between June of '08 and 2010 with your platelets? You were just not really going out as often or
I just didn't run with scissors.
He had lots of transfusions, Mark. Lots
I
and lots
lots of
did,
of
but my
transfusions?
transfusions didn't last. I mean, I did have a lot of
He
transfusions.
he actually every third day he had to have platelets. His platelets just did not stick around. And so that was, we lived at the hospital, but because if you go in and he had to see the doctor a
But
lot
that month before ATG, that was also constant platelets and hemoglobin. I
and
mean,
him
red cells.
red blood cell.
So when you count those 2 months together there, and then maybe a month or so after that, it seemed like forever. And when we would go, they would have my cells irradiated, and it seemed like they did something else to them. I think they checked them because he was trying to make sure that I didn't get antibodies in
Right.
case I needed a transplant.
Right. And
All
that was going to be my next question. Was a transplant ever considered and or why didn't you ever get one?
Well, when I was first diagnosed, the first doctor I had said, "You're too old for a transplant." I was 43. You're too old for a transplant,
You're actually 42.
so we're going to go straight to the horse ATG. That's not the thing anymore. That may not have been back then. I don't know, but um,
Well, Dr. Hannah would have went for it if it hadn't been.
well, Dr. Hannah he's more conservative, and he was like, let's see if the cyclosporine will work. It didn't work, so let's see if ATG will work, and it did. It was just really slow, but
Oh, of course.
okay with that.
It,
They, sorry,
I'm
Tessa, please go.
understanding that they said if you're 40 and over, you're too old to go to transplant.
That was
And
in
that would be a
2008.
last resort.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you just got diagnosed at the wrong time. You should have been
Uh,
diagnosed years later, and
I
you would have
know.
gotten the transplant. And
Now you'd be 75 years old and get a transplant.
where I got my transplant, they treat people all the way up to that age, 75. But
Yeah.
it's interesting though, because it's clear that a lot of doctors go to transplant as a last resort. They want to make sure that the ATG might work first, and it's also, I mean, just a much less harsh experience going through the ATG. It's still
Quicker,
not fun, still not easy.
No,
quicker recovery though. You know what I'm
Or
saying? Like it's a
ATG's
much quicker recovery
transplant.
than transplant.
so
With
you,
risk, I guess.
how quickly were you able to go out into crowds and be in public after you got your ATG?
You know, I'm not sure what you would mean by crowd, but
Going to the grocery store, were you able to go back pretty quickly? My doctor said you need to stay inside,
she
basically.
didn't. She did. I didn't
Yeah.
go to the grocery store.
We changed our life a lot. I mean, like I would go to the grocery store at night, like
Mhm.
11 o'clock at night, I'd go get my groceries just because I didn't want to bring germs home to him. And especially when his counts were really low, when we got to come back home, like I had to clean the house and get all the house plants out of the house. And, this was when he came home from the hospital from the ATG. And we were just really careful with germs and whatnot. And so I knew when I would come in that I could carry him something. So I would just go straight to the shower and shower when I would go out
Mhm.
until his flight, his
ANC.
ANC came up to a certain point. But I mean, we're still always careful, but
Yeah,
even
17
after he
years
got
later,
better.
I'm still on cyclosporin.
Oh, wow. And are you on any other medications along with that, or is it still
I
cyclosporine?
do actually take 5 milligrams of prednisone every day.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that. I knew everything leading up to this. I didn't know that one. Wow.
And it's funny because he actually last fall tried to get me off of it. Um, he said, let's start cutting back on that. Let's just see if we can get rid of that. Because he believes in finding the right cocktail there that's just going to make you stable. Um, and and my counts went down, but it was because I had a hip transplant, we believe, not transplant, what I have? Hip replacement. Not a
Yeah,
transplant.
we
We
took someone else's hip and we put it right in.
have all these transplant friends, so that's just in your mind. But but he was just kind of like maybe we messed that up. We shouldn't have done that. So I'm back at 5 every day.
It's not recommended.
It's not.
Okay.
The funny thing is when he weaned me off of it, I was like, can't you just because I was having some arthritis pain and I was having neck pain. It was like, just let me have 5. Let me just a little bit. And he said, okay, I'll let you have 5. And
But it was more for his blood than
I'm sure it
Sure.
for my
it was
blood,
not for
but
that.
but it was I don't even think I would need it now if I got off of it for those problems. But um,
You mean for your aplastic
no,
anemia?
I mean
Oh,
for my joints. Yeah, I think
okay.
my joint pain doesn't seem to be there anymore. I don't know why, but yeah.
Yeah, now he's still in cyclosporin, but this isn't the rest of our story, of our journey because he got better, his count started going great, and then
In
um,
fall of 2010, Dr. Hannah said, I think we can start using the um, what's the word?
weaning you off.
No, no, no. Remission, sorry.
There
Oh,
you go.
Remission word. We can start using the remission word
we were
now.
told he was in
And
remission.
so we're going to get you off aplastic. I mean, we're going to get you off of cyclosporin and
Start
all.
and that was what year was that? That was 2 years, wasn't it?
That was 2.5 years since
Since
ATG. Yeah.
ATG. And they
It's
started.
amazing you've been on cyclosporin as long as you have, and you don't seem like you have many side effects from it. I mean, unless you're growing hair in weird places, that's what I remember when I was on it.
He does do that, yes, but not as bad as you think. I mean,
Yeah,
it's really
it
weird.
actually has slowed down quite a bit because I mean I used to have to trim the hair on my arms
Hmm.
from the cyclosporin, and I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Well,
But
that's
he still shakes just a little bit. You know, you can
sure.
but it's not near as bad. I mean, not even close to the way it used to be. And his kidneys have just handled, some people can handle cyclosporin with their kidneys and some can't. And some people get deathly, that it really upsets their digestive tract and all that. He's just very blessed to be able to take it.
Yeah, it does seem like that's a coin flip with people with
Yeah.
cyclosporin that I mean people just tolerate it either very well or they don't tolerate it well at
And the
all.
great the great news is that there's other drugs they can give you if you
now,
don't
yeah,
tolerate it.
exactly.
Um, but he actually they started tapering him very slowly. But now we were pressuring Dr. Hannah to do this because we had read all these all the side effects and all the things that could happen if you're on. We'd been reading the you know
The medicine inserts.
Yes, the medicine insert. And so we're like, he's got to get off this. And so we were really pressuring him to get him off the drugs. So
Of
I really
course.
do feel like some of that was our fault, that he went as fast as he did. But of course, when he started tapering him, and he did pretty slowly, but it just wasn't slow enough, I don't think. But he relapsed. So
Yep.
that
So
was very disappointing.
spring
So
of
what do you
2011.
mean by relapse? What exactly happened then?
So spring of 2011, my count started dropping,
Just slowly dropping.
and so he started raising the cyclosporin and the steroids back up, and they kept dropping. So we kind of went too far. And there's some research at the NIH that says that some people just have to be on cyclosporin to keep that T cell tamped down for the rest of their life. And so I assume I'm one of those,
Some people don't though.
right,
We have all kinds of friends
that are off of
now
it completely.
that are off of it, and they're doing great. They're on no drugs.
But you
So
didn't have to go through ATG again?
yeah,
I did have.
Or you did go through ATG again. Okay.
So almost the same time of year. So in, I guess, April, May, I started, um, and yeah, I think it was actually in June again that
it
I went
was.
through ATG again, June of 2011.
We took the horse again.
Did the horse again, and he anticipated that it would be worse than the first time, and it wasn't. Although it looked bad the first day, but there were
First
reasons.
day is always the hardest.
Yeah, it is, and I needed a transfusion before they did the ATG, and Dr. Hannah was actually out of town when we started it.
It was a weekend,
Yeah, and
and he needed platelets. His platelets were
I
bottomed
had
out
just put the new um, central line in my chest,
the day before.
and my platelets were low, and I needed platelets, and we were supposed to get them before we started ATU. We didn't, so I was bleeding from that thing, and they were short staffed, and it was just a perfect storm. And I ended up in ICU that night and
He lost a
early
lot
the
of
next
blood.
morning, and but then Dr. Hannah came in, and the ICU was
Well,
awesome.
they thought he was septic, because it looked like he was septic. They thought he might have pneumonia, all this stuff. And so it was a very long night. Let's put it that way,
My
because
blood
this is
pressure got
what
to
we thought.
40 over 20.
My goodness.
And they were talking to me, and they were like, "You shouldn't be
It was
conscious right now."
it was one of the code calls where all the doctors and nurses fill the room.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I don't remember the color though.
Yeah, and it was everybody stood around. They were, I guess, afraid to move him because they thought they were gonna have to save him. And his blood pressure just kept dropping, and they were like getting uh manual blood pressure
They took my
cuffs.
blood pressure like four different cuffs because they didn't believe that it was that low, and I
Oh
was
my
still
goodness.
He was
conscious.
still awake, and he was joking and talking, and it was like, this isn't possible. Like, why? It was just crazy. But anyway, they rushed him, ran him to ICU, and then come to find out he did not. They tested him for all that stuff, pneumonia, septic, and all that stuff. He didn't. He was not. The next day, we found out that he did not have all that, but his kidneys shut down and everything. I mean, it was pretty scary. It was very scary. And then Dr. Hannah came in and found out that his albumin, am I saying that right?
Yep.
Level, he needed albumin. And so they brought in some, and things just started getting better after that. So,
Amazing. I mean, he didn't lie. He did say that it would be rougher the second go around, and that
yeah,
sounds like that was a little rougher than the
Uh,
first
I
time.
mean, it definitely looked rougher.
but I'm like convinced that, and so I'm convinced that if they had given him the platelets before he took the ATG, he wouldn't have lost so much blood, because I mean he had I'm just gonna
Steady
be honest with you, he
stream.
had a steady stream of blood coming out of his chest for over 3 hours, like
As long
that whole
My
evening. It
goodness.
was hours. And they would put pressure on it and all this. It just wouldn't ever stop. And so they gave him some platelets that night, and his platelet count was then lower than it had been before. And that was the first time that had ever happened, which was very, very scary. And then they gave him some more, and then it quit bleeding finally. But see, all that happening, with your first night of ATG, it was the perfect storm, like Robert said. So that is not normal. Like, that's not the normal way to do things. And we always encourage people, if you are going in to have ATG and you do have low platelets and you've got that fresh port, even if you don't, just make sure they give you your blood that you need and get you stable before you take the ATG.
Amen to that. Because that's exactly what they did for me too. You got to make sure you get those platelets, or if you need hemoglobin and you need some blood. I mean,
Yes.
and it is interesting how some doctors believe you don't need that, even though your platelets are at 6. It's like, well, you're about to do something that's pretty harsh. Can we just make sure that we're a little stable first before we do that?
What
Just
does
have
this
some
solve?
protection.
What if you pass out going to the restroom because
Right.
ATG,
Yeah.
maybe you've hit the floor and you got low platelets? It just makes common sense. And it's not that the nurses or doctors are bad. It's just they
Well,
have some serious patients on that cancer floor and they're overworked.
we
And
actually did find out that the nurse that was the
the
manager
nurse
on that
manager.
floor, it was her first night, so
Oh
things were
man.
going well. But and that's going to happen, and that's something I want to just share, is that you really, when you're in these situations, I knew he needed the platelets. He knew he needed the platelets for the ATG, and we tried to talk her into getting them, and she said no. They said it was okay. Your doctor said we're just going to do this. And when you know that you've got to stand up for yourself. So I should have said, no, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful, with just kindness, and say he has to have that before we start it. So I recommend, you have to be your own advocate. And just because the nurse or doctor says something, it doesn't mean, if you know better,
Right.
uh, this is a rare disease. And most of the nurses that are working on you have never even heard of it.
Right. And I mean, I know the term Karen is used in a derogatory sense now, but sometimes you got to be a Karen. Don't be a Karen whenever they get your coffee order wrong. You need to be a Karen though whenever you need platelets.
That's
That's a
right.
little
That's
different,
right.
right?
Yeah,
That's really important. And so you, you got to risk
we've learned some of
not
these.
being liked by the nurse,
That's
but
right.
you have to do it, right? Because you're, potentially saving your life.
Exactly. And you can be respectful,
And the
and
same thing
let
happened,
time.
with the first hospital. They almost transfused the wrong blood type for me. The
Oh
doctor
boy.
went nuts because they didn't give me my blood transfusion when he ordered it, and I was sitting there melting. And when they finally brought it, and this we were early in this, and Tessa saw that's not his blood type,
On the
and
back.
it was already running down. It was halfway down the tube to my arm.
So you're pulling it out for your arm.
She grabbed it and reached it and said, "What?" And she said,
Uh,
"That's not my blood
but
type."
she's sitting across the room, and I went, "That's not his blood type." And she went, "What?" And she cut it,
Clamped
clinched
it.
it, clamped it, or whatever.
Oh
And
man.
sure enough, it wasn't his blood type. So that's another thing. I would just encourage anybody that's going
Keep
through
your
this,
eyes open.
please pay attention. Have somebody with you if you can. And if you can't, you pay attention. Check every time they give you a blood transfusion, check it, make sure it's your blood type.
Well, so how did you, other than that very eventful first night, though, how did you react to the second ATG? How was your
Yeah,
treatment
that
for
was
that?
scary because she was for her, she says she was scared to death for me to go to ATG because they got me out at SCU and they said, let's just continue on with the treatment. And she was like, really?
I think he came out a day and a half after
Day and a
that.
half
He was in
later.
ICU.
And it's like, bring it on and let's
And it
finish
was,
this
oh
thing.
my gosh, is this going to kill him? Like I was so scared. But
Understandably so.
It was uneventful after
it
that.
was. He never had a
And he
problem.
said, you're probably going to have serum sickness again, and it's probably going to be worse. And so we were ready. Never got the first sign of serum sickness.
Wow.
No.
Yeah,
It
it's interesting. I feel like the second time you get a treatment, your body just tolerates it better. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
interesting how sometimes it's uneventful like yours, or sometimes it's very eventful, not like yours.
Yeah, listen, I really am convinced that if he had had his platelets before it, I think it would have been
A
uneventful.
breeze. Yeah.
Yeah, you just would have forgotten about it at this point. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that was just a little quick little stay, right?
And it was kind of quick because I missed 1 month to the day of work with
We're in
the
the
second
hospital
one.
very long.
And we weren't in the hospital near as long as the first time, even though we
Oh.
brought all this junk to be there forever. And it was like, man, that was a lot of stuff we brought for nothing.
Counts really recovered quickly the
Yeah.
second time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And so how has life been after this, after that second treatment? I mean, you've spoken a little bit about cyclosporine and how you're still on it, but how has it changed since these treatments?
Well,
Loaded question, I know.
I know. Yeah, we'll try to make it a short answer, but everything changes your life, right? Whether it's getting a dog or having kids or getting married or getting a new job, everything changes your life. And having a disease like that changes your life. Cyclosporin is an immunosuppressant. So my immune system is compromised below what normal people would be. It's not terrible. I still work every day. I work out. Uh, I mow the grass. We do things. We go camping. Got grandkid and play and hold with him, and so we still live our life, but we do things a little differently. There's a lot of hand washing. We don't wear shoes in the house. She wears shoes in the house, but they don't leave the house.
They're house sheets.
But we just try to keep germs down because I am immunocompromised. So when people are sick, I don't get around them, and I still my secretaries have gotten a little more lax about it, but I still try to pay attention. If people are sick, I get somebody else to cover for those situations because I just don't want to take the chance.
And in the winter, when the flu and COVID's going around really bad, he'll put a mask on when he has somebody in his office because a lot of people he works with just over the phone. So there are a few months there this winter you
I
wore
did.
mask, N95
When it gets
mask.
really,
And we have a clean air machine in his office.
Oh, the
Uh,
air filter.
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, those are amazing. I can't recommend those enough. Even if you're not sick, you don't have aplastic anemia, you should have one of those.
I agree.
And we just avoid crowds. I mean, I have to go to conferences from time to time and I'm in a crowd. I try not to do it much in the winter during flu season. Nobody wants flu anyway, right? I mean, everybody saw during COVID, everybody was being careful and the flu season was like nothing. Wouldn't that be awesome if everybody was careful all year long? But I know you don't want to, completely change your lifestyle. But so yeah, we're just
So here's another question for you too. If somebody was diagnosed with aplastic anemia today, which I'm sure someone has been, what is one piece of advice each of you would give to them? One as a caregiver, and then one as somebody who fought through aplastic anemia.
You go first.
shouldn't you have given me a question before we met? John Stossel would have done that.
Oh, I know, I know. I'm not quite at that level yet, but
Uh,
I know that's I'm putting y'all on the spot with that, but
well, I think you need to be positive. And it's not a fun ride, but you know what? There's no promise of fun rides all the time. Life is kind of you got to find joy where you can find joy. And the doctors that treat aplastic anemia are normally cancer doctors, right? So it doesn't take but a minute to find somebody that's got it a lot worse than you do. So if you can't um, if you can't handle your disease, try to help somebody handle theirs. And just helping somebody takes some of the pressure off of you. It makes you feel better about yourself. It makes other people feel better. And even when I was in the hospital, I didn't want I didn't want that I didn't want that victim mentality. I didn't want to be the sick patient. And even when I was sick, I just tried to sleep through it. But when nurses would come in, we try to encourage the nurses because they're working a really hard job. And so just trying to have as much positivity as you can. And
So we actually bought there was this book we liked, and uh we had read it, and we were thinking, these nurses work so hard. Let's bless them with books. So just tell them how much we appreciate them. And so we hid this box under his bed, and we would just, when a new doctor or new nurse would come in on a shift, we'd give her a book and say, we really appreciate all that you do. And you wouldn't believe them. Those nurses would get in tears over just some simple little something like that. So, and it really helped us to help somebody else. And like, as a caregiver, we would be in a transfusion room and I would see somebody that didn't have somebody with them. And I'd be like, can I get you a snack? Or, just anything to try to keep our focus off ourselves and try to get it on other people to help other people. That is true.
and that was mine. You have to come up with your own.
Well,
he's
I know
right.
one. I think the thing that comes to my mind the most is that you feel like your life has just been jerked away from you. Like when we got this, it really truly was like somebody took our life away, because we went from living a great life to living in a transfusion room, or the doctor's office. And it was scary. It was scary. And you just didn't have, you were so uncertain. And we just were lost. We didn't know what we were doing and, didn't know much about it. Didn't have anywhere to get answers because there was just nobody to turn to. And so other than the doctor, which they didn't give you a whole lot,
Well, they don't have time for
they
you to give you a whole
don't.
lot.
They don't. And they've never lived it, so they don't really know. And so I would say my message to people would be just know you're going to get your life back. Your life, it's going to take a while. There's going to be a time that you're going to have to recover and get treatments and all that, but you will get your life back. And it's not going to be the same life you had. It's going to be a different life. It's a good life. Okay. It's just different. And you will grieve the life you had, because I did. There was a period of time that you just have a process of just letting it go, but if you'll let it go and just know that this is the life you have now and make the best of it, try to, like Robert said, try to help others, keep your focus on other people instead of yourself. And we used Thanksgiving as one of our things. Like we focused on
Not holiday.
no, we focused on what we could be thankful for instead of, so we would be thankful for what we had and not what we'd lost. If that makes sense. And,
Of course.
I was just so thankful he lived and that every day was precious to us. And it still is to this day. I mean, we have no idea what our future holds, what will happen to him.
Or her.
Or me. I mean, and that was one of the things that I realized in this whole thing. One day I was in the car at the red light going to the hospital to meet, go see him. And it hit me. All these people that are sitting at this red light, they don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. They don't have a clue. So we're still in the same boat as everybody
They
else.
could make a U-turn and get hit by a truck.
Yeah, and end up with brain
Yes,
surgery.
they could.
So, I mean, you just don't know what life's going to throw you. Life is precious. And so
Absolutely.
we actually in the midst of where we were at in those transfusion rooms and doctors' offices, we found ways to make it productive and enjoy our time together. Because, usually he'd be at work. So we looked at it like when we go to transfusion room, we'd take a movie. And I think we were there so much, they gave us a little favor because we got the corner room where it was away from people most of the time. And we brought our little DVD player and we watched movies.
That was back when there was no streaming. It was
Yeah.
DVD player.
And
Yeah.
I would go to the microwave and pop popcorn, and we would like eat popcorn, and I'd have lunch. And I mean,
We were
we
there like
made it-
5 hours, so we had plenty of time to watch a movie, take a nap from the Benadryl.
Of course.
And when we would go to doctor's appointments, I mean, I would take my paperwork and I would work while I was there so that I felt like I wasn't just wasting my time. And I'm going on and on, sorry. But
No, I put you both on the spot and you both gave beautiful answers. That was, I mean, just at the top of your head, giving those answers. I mean, I'm about to tear up here. That was beautiful. And I can vouch for Tessa and Robert, how much they love helping people. I mean, I don't know where I would be without these two right now. I was mentally in a very bad way until I joined their Wednesday night Zoom calls. And I mean, I owe so much to you two. And you guys are, I always say you guys are absolute angels, except on Saturdays whenever we do classes. But otherwise, I mean,
I always say we're not angels.
and I will always disagree with you on that because I think that is amazing that you guys are, even in the midst of going through something so harsh, you're still thinking of other people and how you can help. And that's, I think, absolutely amazing. And another way that you have helped, if you want to talk about this beautiful book right here, Tessa, she sent this to me, although it's not an autograph copy, so I don't think it's worth much, unfortunately. But written by Tessa Gaines, Don't Stop at the Gate, Living a Life of Childlike Faith. I cannot recommend this enough. I read this cover to cover so many times. And where can you buy it? And what is it about?
You can get it on Amazon, but we'll give you one if you'll just list your email address. I mean, seriously, if you've got aplastic anemia or you're a caregiver or a family member, we'll be happy to send you some of our journey from that book.
And you guys can email me and I can get you guys in contact with Robert and Tessa as well, just to, streamline the process very easily. But if you're recently diagnosed and you're a reader, I mean, or if you've just been, if you had this years ago and you just want to learn more about it and everything, I mean,
it does kind of give a play-by-play of our journey and of our faith, because without our faith, we wouldn't be able to have survived it, because that's what the book is about, and how we used just having childlike faith to be able to survive that. Because if you act like a grown-up in some of that stuff, it just the details can just scare you to death. And I just rather pretend like I'm a kid, and I'm going to trust the doctors, and I'm going to trust my wife, and I'm going to trust my God, and we're going to.
The fact that you were joking when your blood pressure was like 3/1, I mean, that says it all right there.
Yeah. And he's right. Our faith is what, I mean, God is how we've gotten through it. God is why we want to help people. Any good that's in us, the glory needs to go to God, because he is why we can see things from this perspective, I guess. And we feel like that's one of the reasons that the platform of this Zoom group that we host is that, we believe that God loves you all. He loves you, Mark. And like he wanted that platform for you to come to and get what, at the time you needed it. And that's really how we see it, because we know that like we are not someone who would do anything like that, or we didn't know what we were doing when we started it, so so it's the same with the book. I never even read books. Never a reader. I never wanted to write a book. It was never a dream. How people dream of being authors. That is not me. I didn't even like know what a foreword was, like in a book. I mean, so when I was led to write that book, it was like, you've got to be kidding. But got me, here it is, right? And we have great stories, lots of God stories about that book. But funny thing about it, Mark, is that we published that in 2011. Okay. Now think back when we were telling you that it was years and years and years before Facebook. And then after it was years after Facebook was there before I accidentally saw an aplastic anemia Facebook group.
Yeah.
Okay. And we published that book and we gave it to our family and friends and our church, and stuff like that. But it was like after it was done, it was like we kind of that was our goal, was like to be able to give it to people with aplastic anemia, because when we were diagnosed, we went to look for books about aplastic anemia, and there were only educational books that would scare you to death.
Yeah.
There was nothing out there. And there was one other book, and it was about somebody dying. And so,
Figured.
we didn't have any. So it was like, we've got, we can get this book out to aplastic anemia patients, but then
We didn't know any.
how do you find them?
Where are they?
Right.
So I didn't understand. I felt like it was something I was supposed to be. Anyway, years later, okay, I find this group, and I got a part of the Facebook group and saw that there were tons of people that had aplastic anemia on there. And so we realized, oh, we can get in contact with people. And that's when we started giving books away to people that were, that were diagnosed with aplastic anemia.
And the name of that group is Aplastic Anemia, Your Fight is My Fight, right?
Yes.
Right. And I mean, you're really not making your case for not being an angel, by the way, with everything you're saying. I'm just saying, y'all have done so much to help people, especially with aplastic anemia, because you're right. This is such a rare disease that it's kind of annoying in a way where you can't find resources. So it's amazing that you guys have taken upon yourselves to help those as much as you can. And yeah, if you would like the book, or if you want to join the Zoom calls, email me and then we can work it out. aplasticanemiamedia@gmail.com. And yeah, thank you guys so much for being the very first interview on here.
You did an excellent job, Mark.
Oh, thank you. I was nervous. I don't know about you guys. Y'all look like pros out there, but this was amazing, and I think you guys are wonderful, and I look forward to our calls every Wednesday.
We think you're wonderful too, Mark. We appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, your channel on YouTube is awesome. It's so good for people that have to go through transplant.
Yes.
So,
and can I just throw in one last thing?
Of course.
So one of the things that there's a lot of good that has come out of our journey. Okay. And if keep your eyes open, you'll see good things come out. We did some bone marrow registry drives. Over the years, we started signing people up for the bone marrow registry because we knew a lot of people, didn't have matches, and some people's lives we actually had a bunch of matches from some of our drives, and some lives were saved. And this was I think this is one of the biggest things when we were going through, all those blood transfusions. There are so many good people in the world, and all you hear on TV is negative about people, but the world is full of good people. And that was one of the things that came out of this. One of the many things that came out of our journey was to see that when we were getting platelets every 3 days for months and months, somebody was going and donating those platelets. It took them
like 4 to 6 hours to donate platelets.
To do that.
Takes a long time.
And we were using, he was going through them like water. And so we also were getting red blood, and he wouldn't be alive, and neither would you, if people weren't out there doing that.
You're absolutely right.
And so I had to say that, because they were our heroes, and you all wouldn't be alive, and our family would. I just can't even express how thankful I am for people. So just know that there are a lot of good people out there, and they're out there to save. If you've been diagnosed with aplastic anemia and are having to have transfusions, they're out there saving your life by
Yes,
giving.
they are. The nurses really are, and the techs, they are the unsung heroes. I
They
mean,
are.
they are amazing. And I mean, like you said, we wouldn't be here without them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Well,
if anybody's watching this and you've donated, thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't thank them enough. I'm really glad you mentioned
No.
that. But speaking of thank you guys so much again. This was amazing and a lot of fun. And
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
yeah.
yeah, so
Say
oh,
hi to Taylor for us.
absolutely. Thank you guys.
All
All
right.
right.
See you, Mark.
Bye.